Hi guys, Ancient Warrior. Welcome back to Prepping in Free America. If you like what you hear here, hit the thumbs up. And if you want to be the first kid on your block to know what we're talking about next, then hit the subscribe button with the little bell icon. And when you hit the bell icon, hit all. A few of these videos are going to be premieres. I won't be online watching them, but they will be premieres. After what we talked about on Sunday, about the terrorist attack in Aspen, where they shut the gas lines off to 3,500 homes in Aspen, made me think, what would you do? Okay. Folks, I grew up in a very poor family. And when I say poor, my stepfather would hand clothes down to me, and my grandmother would alter them enough so I could wear them, because I was generally the biggest of the family. And he wasn't a real big man anyway. Last 3 or 4 weeks of school, when I was in grade school, go barefooted, because it was generally warm enough. And believe me, you don't realize how cruel kids can be. And some of those cruel kids I was dealing with are now cruel adults. They haven't learned. They're fixing to learn. If they're not preppers, they're going to learn some nasty things. Two, you know, I didn't have the finest in clothing. You know, generally whatever the store brand was is what Grandma and Grandpa bought us. That's all we could afford. Today I am fortunate. I can afford to buy the nicer stuff. When I was in business, it was nothing to wear a Dior suit. You know, I had that kind of money. But I also had a little common sense to go with that money. And I was, I thought I was being bright playing the stock market a few times. And, well, let's just put it this way. The people at the stock market are a little richer and I'm a whole lot poorer. But that's a story for another day. So, as we know, a terrorist organization called Earth First went and turned gas off to 3,500 homes. I'm sure it was homes and businesses, but because I don't think you could target just homes. City of Aspen was scrambling to get electric heaters because it was going to drop below zero Tuesday night. Now, what's Aspen, Colorado famous for? Well, it's a ski city. It's a ski town. And I don't know for sure how many people live in Aspen. I'm sure it's 30, 40, 50,000, maybe more. But when you start taking 3,500 homes, and see, they hit it that way because it sounds better than maybe 7,000 to 20,000 people without gas. Did you see that? What they did? Mockingbird media. I hate that. You know, I've quit listening to them, folks. So, I grew up in an era where learning how to do things was important. And I was talking yesterday on Sunday to a friend of mine, and I said, what would you do? She looked at me and she said, well, I'd just go in and turn the oven on and open the oven door. And I looked at her and I said, you do realize it runs on gas, right? She said, well, yeah, but there's still gas in the lines, aren't there? And I said, if it's turned off, you're going to burn all that gas before you know that you don't have any more. One of my favorite books is, we'll get to it here in just a second, folks. I'm having to leave my phone on because Mom's in rehab, and if something was to happen, I would want to be. Now, the one I happen to have here is the U.S. Army FM 31-70 Basic Cold Weather Manual. Notice the thickness. This covers quite a bit. This is my third of these books. I had one, and it's really weird. Really weird things happen around here sometimes. Is they sprout legs and walk off. I also have the U.S. Marine Corps and the U.S. Navy's version of the cold weather training, because where basically it's all the same, there are subtle differences. And believe me, those subtle differences can keep you alive. Excuse me. It's cold today. It's been, in the mornings it's cold as it's going to get, and in the afternoons I'm just comfortable, and I'm having to wear thermals all the time. For those of you who think Texas don't get cold, believe me, last night was down to about 25 degrees. And it hasn't warmed up much now. Okay, with that being said, what would you do? Well, in my case, right now I'm in the house by myself. I have 3, count them, 1, 2, 3 electric heaters. I hate electric heaters. Space heaters are horrible on your electric bill. But if that's the only way you're going to stay warm, then you need to do it. After this little attack, let me tell you what I planned. I called a friend of mine and I had him come by on Saturday. And he looked at my house, at Mom's house, and we're going to next spring install a wood-burning stove. Why? A wood-burning stove can help keep this house warm if the gas goes off. if they turn, if the terrorist groups decide to turn the gas off. And I think terrorism is the exact word that we need to be looking at here, folks, of these groups. I have a big Berkey water filtering system, so I can filter water if something was to happen to our water system. Now, one of the things I do every winter, and it just drives my mother crazy, but I still do it, is I tack wool blankets up over the windows. And I have to roll them up so she's got to have her light in the house. So what I did while she's been in the hospital, I went and got some bubble wrap, some real thick bubble wrap, and I've tacked it inside the windows to slow the, glass is amazing. This old house has double paned windows. A buddy of mine has a thermal monocular. I'm going to have one next spring. And he said, I want to show you something. Showed me every place my house was leaking heat. You know where most of my heat loss was coming from? My windows. Those dual paned windows. I know they were installed in the 80s, so the old watchdog just walked in to visit with us. He's got to keep a good eye on everything. So if the camera jumps a little bit, you know what, just brushed it. There you go, big boy. He thinks he's got to get in the picture too. Now, I take blankets and I put them up over the windows and over the doors. No matter how well you seal your windows and doors, the glass allows the heat to radiate out. It conducts that heat right out of the window. So you put the blankets over it. You get this bubble wrap. Now they make several different types of it. And some of it actually has a silver lining. And you put the silver lining to the inside and put it up there. And what it does is reflects the heat back into the house. Makes the room a little darker, but guys, in the winter, who cares? If you're staying warm, if you're fighting to stay warm. Now, I've told you, wood-burning stove in your house. Unless you live behind enemy lines and they're big on this, global warming bull. It's colder here this year than it was last year, and I think global warming's out the window. Now, blankets on the windows. Coat your windows with something to keep the cold air out and the warmth in. Then folks, those little space heaters, close off rooms. I've got Mother's bedroom closed off. I keep doors closed. I heat the rooms I'm in. That way, dog's going crazy out there, cat Just walked across the wooden fence a couple of rolls down. But you want to keep the heat in the house. When you're in the house, guys, you've seen I think I wore my orange beanie. I keep the heat, and I'll be honest with you, I keep it a little cool in the house for me when Mom's not there. I keep it down around the high 60s, and most of the time it stays on about 70. I wear a beanie, long sleeve t-shirts, thermal pants, wool socks. This is the way I dress at home. I also go out like that because I hate being cold. I've been cold a few times. Now, here's the problem that's going to exist in a lot of your homes. You've got your windows covered up like I've told you. You crawl in that bed and you're shivering. Can't seem to get warm. Oh, before you go to bed, folks, you eat a high carbohydrate meal. And when I say high, I mean make it almost pure carbs, so your body's got fuel to burn. Now, like me, I'm on keto diet right now. So if I take on carbs of any kind, I've cut my carbs so low that the doctor said the other day that if my carbs get any lower, that I may not be able to function. Well, I got news for him. They've been low before. So, eat a high carbohydrate meal to stay warm, to get your body to create warmth. Now, your bed. I'm a firm believer in wool blankets, folks. Under your sheets, you need to have a wool blanket. You need to put wool blankets under your sheets. Now, why are you doing that? Well, number one, wool holds heat. Most of us today are sleeping on mattresses. You know, if you're like me, I have a memory foam mattress, and it's designed to suck the heat away. I had to put, believe it or not, I've put 2 wool blankets on my bed against that mattress so it won't suck the heat out. Then you have flannel sheets. Folks, those of you that say, well, cotton's the fiber of my life. It's also the fiber that they'll wrap you in when you freeze to death. They always use a white cotton sheet. Then you put your sheets on, preferably flannel. You get your top sheet on, then over the top sheet, another flannel, another wool blanket. Then over the wool blanket, you put a flannel blanket. Then whatever comforter you use. And yes, sometimes it gets a little heavy. I've been known to fold things back. But when it's cold outside, when it's in its, teens and 20s, I got news for you. The old fat boy's nice and warm. He stays nice and warm. And you can buy flannel sheets off Amazon. Go to Walmart. You can get them fairly reasonably priced. You know, and I know a lot of you are going to say, well, what do you do to keep the house warm? Well, sometimes you just don't. That's the reason you got space heaters. Space heaters not required to work as hard if you've cut down all the cold air. So, with that being said, folks, this one went a little long because I got on a tangent. I apologize. Remember, it's better to have this stuff and this training and not need it than need it and not have it. I'm the Ancient Warrior. Have a good day.